Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34. This is the day before the Humboldt Regionals on April 30th, 2011, for those of you who are viewing this video a year plus after. Which, you know, thanks for viewing it so late, and please don't comment about the fact that it doesn't fit the ban list for a year from now, because that's not the ban list I'm using now. Anyway. I was told to play Speed Mill, quote-unquote, and the best version of Speed Mill really is Empty Jar. And pretty much the best build for that is was already made for me. It's the one from North Carolina from a couple of months ago. And that's pretty much what I'm running. I've had to change it a little bit. For one thing, I didn't own any deep divers and couldn't get them in time, but that's alright because I've gone another way. So it's mostly that build, but I've changed the side deck and I've added an extra deck. So Morphing Jar is pretty much what the whole deck revolves around. It's better than Needleworm basically because you get a new hand every time you flip it, so you're not just hitting your opponent for 5, but you're actually you're drawing new cards to keep your combo going. And basically you're going to set this guy and then turn him face up and face down a bunch of times and then kill your opponent that way, more or less. Sangan to search him. And instead of the Deep Diver, I'm running Giant Rat. I thought about using Mystic Tomato to go get Sangan so that I could put the Morphing Jar into my hand. But the problem with that is Thunder King gets in the way. So because Thunder King's pretty prevalent right now, I went with Rat, and Rat can just get the jar. And if they have warning, they can only kill the Rat that way. They can't warn once they know what I'm searching and get the jar somehow. So it's really pretty much the best route. It's slightly better than Tomato. And you don't have to search, so it's not going to force you to put out, say, this guy if you don't want to, Swift Scarecrow. He's basically like a step up from Battle Fader because he can't be oppressed. And 3 copies of AD Changer. It's essentially just Book of Taiyu, flips your jar. Next up you have 3 copies of Book of Eclipse. It's amazing. It's like Book of Moon, only hits all your opponent's stuff too and then forces them to draw cards. Great way to try to deck them out. 1 copy of Book of Moon because we're limited to 1. 3 copies of Book of Taiyu. Just turns it face up. When you Book of Taiyu your Morphing Jar, it is not a flip summon. You're just changing its position. But since it's not a flip summon, they can't negate the summon somehow. Oh, and the cool thing about using these different books is when you flip up your jar and they try to Effect Veil it, you can just chain the book out of your hand. When the chain resolves, your guy will be face down. When the Effect Veiler tries to negate it, it'll fail because it's an illegal target and you'll still get to do the 5. So it's one of the many reasons this deck's actually pretty good. 3 dualities. It's cool that I have a deck that I can actually play for this event that takes full advantage of duality and plays it well. So that's cool. 3 upstarts, just because you want to power through your deck, hit your combo pieces. Dark World Dealings, you can pitch extra Rats or AD Changers ideally with this, and it also makes your opponent draw so you're not getting too far ahead of them for your killing yourself with Morphing Jar, which should never happen, but that's part of how you prevent it. Runs 3 Gold Sarcophagus, great way to get Morphing Jar. 3 Magical Mallet, just recycles your hand. It's good to set before you flip your Morphing Jar in between hands so you can make sure you hit what you need, your books and whatnot. Card Destruction, one of the great ways you can actually make sure they're ahead. Basically, on the last turn you have this set. You set most of your hand or pitch it all to like Excavation. Then you play this, you draw little to nothing with it, and your opponent has to do another 5 because they have 5 from Morphing Jar. And it puts them 5 cards ahead of you in the deck out race. So. Also, 2 copies of Magical Stone Excavation, another good card you can set and then flip your jar. Helps you build card advantage really quickly, great way to retrieve your books. And it also runs 3 copies of A Feather of the Phoenix. Surprisingly useful. It's, once again, you pretty much just set it and wait until you play out your hands until you need to use this to recycle a book or something. Really a fun card for this deck. And last but not least, 1 copy of Giant Trunade, because if they go first and they set a bunch of stuff, helps you play it safe. It really is quite useful. And it's one of your few main deck answers to like GKs. So that's the main board. I'll go ahead and go through the extra deck. The only thing that could possibly matter for my deck, because I don't even run Monster Board, is Chimeratech Fortress. If a Gadget player gets like overexcited and leaves me stuff, I can use this to sack it and throw this in defense mode. And I might as well run 3, so I'm running 3 Chimeratech Fortress Dragons. And most of the rest of the extra deck, honestly, I ran it to be stuff that looks like I could be playing other decks, so when I'm pulling my extra deck out and I put it on my mat, somebody thinks they're awesome for like spying my extra deck, and I can make them think I'm playing something else, which has a small psychological advantage, and really it's just fun to screw with people. So I've got like Vajrayana, Armor Master, Shooting Star, Gotoms, and none of these things really have to be in here at all. Heraclinos, The Shining, Dragon Master Knight, that's just for fun. So is Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Labyrinth Tank, just because Labyrinth Tank is awesome. Curry Box, Empress Judge, she just looks good, and Flame Swordsman, because a classic never dies. Once again, the main reason actually for these other things, like, you know, the ones that might actually be in a deck, is also people tend to notice weird decks as you start ranking higher and higher, and they'll play around it if they know what you've got. So if they see this when I'm setting my extra deck, the actual practical function is, they'll think, oh, that mustn't be the guy I thought it was. And so they may not make the right first turn plays if they go first. Yeah, once again, it's a small advantage, but it's one that might end up making or breaking me for one game because his deck's very fast. So obviously I'm not revealing him to somebody because that'd really wouldn't do me anything. They'd obviously know that was a fake. This is just for fun because I like it. Anyway, and on to a little more serious matter. I've changed the side deck he was running just a little bit. 3 Golems. This is basically, I mean, you can hit Herald with it, but more importantly, it hits Xian, because Xian's bad for you. 2 copies of Volcanic Queen, also for Xian. 3 Prohibitions for stuff you can't answer any other way. Effect Veiler's not a very big threat, not as much as it looks like, but this is good against Gravekeepers. As are your 2 Mystical Space Typhoons. Good against anything that's continuous that's bad for you. And I took out the Decrees and ran Tornadoes, basically because Tornadoes are a little more flexible. And if you do set anything, odds are good they'll pop it. And if they don't, well, then you can still play it just like a Twister or an MST. And usually you've only got one thing to hit. And Decree is less useful because Chain Disappearance actually doesn't do much of anything against you, and so on and so forth. And then I changed 2 other cards. I'm actually running Necroface, because if I'm playing something weird like Macro, or somebody runs in like a Banisher, I really don't want to, you know, somehow get screwed up and then I automatically have to lose. So if I see something weird that might give me that potential trouble, there's Necroface to put the morphing back in my deck. And it can also mill people, which is good. And then there's also Return, just another way to retrieve it if it gets removed somehow. I'm not anticipating these to be terribly useful, but since Morphing Jar getting removed from play pretty much makes me scoop otherwise, I don't want to lose randomly to somebody like that. So anyway, that's the main deck, side deck, and extra deck. And I will actually be posting videos. I'll probably post them all at once, but I will be keeping a vlog. And I know I say that, I've said that in the past, but this time I actually will be keeping the vlog pretty steadily. So this is what I'm playing. It is Empty Jar, slightly modified, but that's what you get for telling me to play a deck that's pretty much already built. But hey, here you go. And let it be a lesson. Net decking is not necessarily a bad thing. I piggybacked, I changed a few things. This is what I'm running. You asked for it, and we'll find out how well I do.